You're never gonna be your true self until you transcend your humanity. What do? You need to go back to the start.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full video for The Boys Season 4, Episodes 1, 2, and Episode 3. There's so many WTF moments, so many Easter eggs for the comics, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. There's so much going on these first couple of episodes. It's sort of like everybody dealing with their internal trauma. Like they're doing a lot of character work in the first half of Season 4. The showrunner also revealed that he'd been previously misleading people, and Season 5 will be the final season, so it kind of gives you an idea for where these character arcs are headed in Season 4. Butcher, for instance, seems like he's about to die in 6 months. That sort of soft confirms that Season 5 will probably pick up around the end of that timeline, like as he's getting ready to die. But starting with Episode 1, the episode title was Department of Dirty Tricks, which is named after issue 13 of the comics. Most of the episode titles are named after the comic book issue titles. Not all of them, but most of them. The actual opening scene is of Victoria Newman at Robert Singer's victory rally as they're winning the presidential race, or in the process of winning. They also start with the song God Save the Queen, using it in a darkly ironic kind of way because we know she's totally evil and it will mean Vought gaining control of the White House. As we learn in later episodes too, they also already control most of Congress. Part of the idea, though, is that at this rally, Homelander has come with Ryan and he's trying to sort of re-up his deal to ally with Victoria Newman, but she doesn't want anything to do with him, but he's kind of forcing himself into this situation. When Kimiko tries to offer some food to Mother's Milk, she says she thinks he hasn't been eating enough. That might be a joke about the actor who plays Mother's Milk in real life, seeming like he lost a ton of weight. Like he looks very different than he did in previous seasons. Butcher is off booting in the alley because of the side effects of his illness, the temporary compound V that's destroying his body, which remains a big thing throughout this season. It'll probably continue in the back half of the season too. Even though the way they start out in Episode 1, you find that he's talking to someone that we can't see, we find out later it actually winds up being Becca that he's been hallucinating. And it's meant to be brand new scenes of them bringing back Chantel Van Santen. Funny coincidence too, she's on another Amazon show. She's actually on the Invincible series playing the Anissa character, who's like the polar opposite of Becca. Like she's the sweetest person alive inside the Boys universe, even though she's dead now, so R.I.P.
I pray you come to your senses before then.
If you haven't watched the Invincible series, Anissa gets up to some really messed up stuff. I talk about it during my Invincible episode videos, so I'll link those in the description below. You can read all about it. She'll be back as that character in future seasons of that show. I love the way they intro Homelander in this episode, though. They start with him in that funny scene in the bathroom, making it sound super heroic, but then revealing that he's just at the stall. And they start this weird kick about him losing his hair, but it's his pubes. Like he picks up his pube and gets weirdly obsessed with it. We find out later this happens a couple times, like he loses a couple, and he's been storing them inside a container. There's a bunch of Easter eggs for things that he's been keeping here too, like this is a milk bottle left over from Season 1 and Season 2 that belonged to Stillwell. We actually saw him drinking from this during Season 2. He's keeping Stormfront's picture of her wedding to Vought himself back during World War II in Germany when they were both Nazis. This sword looks like it belongs to the original Black Noir that he killed during Season 3. So it seems like this case is just dedicated to a bunch of women that he was obsessed with, plus also his pubes in a jar. This whole obsession of his, though, is the idea that he realizes he's not truly invincible. Like, it's him coming to terms with that because everybody starts making comments about him getting older, like we get to erase your wrinkles using visual effects later in all the movies that you're in. So as Sage later says, he's having this midlife crisis, like it's all coming crashing down on him. I am sure he will take it like a pure gentleman, like there's not going to be any kind of problems, no drama, he will take it like a champ. Famous last words as he has another tantrum. Love all the jokes here with him trying to introduce Ryan to the rally, like, okay, you ready? Oh, treat the people like cockroaches. And Ryan's afraid of cockroaches, like he just totally doesn't get what Homelander is talking about, and Homelander also doesn't get what Ryan is talking about. Later, we also find out that this is sort of like a last resort situation for the CIA through Monkey, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, in Butcher, who's trying to get Butcher to help him weaponize Ryan against Homelander. This will be a big thing about the show's endgame as we talk more in future episodes. Like, they're slowly seeding the idea that Ryan is the measure of last resort that everybody has against Homelander. Like, what if Homelander truly went off the deep end and tried to become God Emperor Homeland? How could we fight him? Because even the Compound V virus, which they reference later, isn't strong enough to kill him right now. Technically, Ryan would probably be the only thing that could actually stop him. So during the rest of Season 4 and Season 5, for instance, just keep that in the back of your mind. I think that's how they're going to end the show. Like, ultimately, it will be Superboy versus Superman. When he walks up to Victoria Newman, he makes a Girls Get It Done callback to Season 2 with that joke, the Dawn of the Seven Justice League Avengers Endgame parody with the A-Force scene.
Girls get it done.
And cut a rehearsal, no one move.
Love all the jokes about Ryan and Zoe, her daughter, getting pregnant together. Like, yeah, don't get pregnant, guys. Ryan could do it. He could do it if he wants to. Wonderfully inappropriate kind of dad energy there. In reality, technically, he probably could do that because Ryan was born naturally. So I think the idea now is that he could also conceive a child with another superhero woman too. They got into this during the first couple of episodes, but part of the idea is that up to this point, Compound V was thought to make everybody that took it sterile, women and men, so superhero children could not be conceived naturally. Ryan is meant to be the first one. But if they can do it once, that means that you could probably do it again and again and again. We get that reunion scene with Butcher and Ryan where he tries to slowly win him over, and even though he doesn't tell Ryan here about what's happening to him, we learn about some of the lies that he told Ryan about killing that dude at the end of Season 3. There's that Michael Jackson Neverland Ranch joke like no means no. When Homelander sees through his skull with his supervision to see the cancer and puts that 6 months time clock on the series, I think that's meant to be the end game for the series, like the 6 months timeline will run out when Butcher is about to die, when the series is about to end. So that kind of soft confirms that Season 5 will pick up around that part of the timeline, even though it'll probably take them about 2 years till 2026 to actually get the season out. Not that much time will go by between the end of Season 4 and the beginning of Season 5. When he says he's disappointed they're not going to get that last dance, during Season 3, when they met up with each other, they basically agreed that they were going to die killing each other. And part of the idea now is that Butcher has nothing left to lose. Like, all he cares about is saving Ryan. So if he feels like Ryan is safe, ultimately, he doesn't care if he dies, so he'd do anything to kill Homelander after that. We also find out that Homelander is a huge Smash Mouth fan. Sounds about right, and as they start playing the Smash Mouth Walking on the Sun song. Very good music track choices, boys' music supervisor. We find out the real reason the boys were actually at this rally was to try and infiltrate Victoria Newman's hotel room to kill her on Dakota Bob's orders. He knows that she's a superhero and has been trying to find a way to actually get rid of her and introduce all this anti-superhero legislation into Congress because he knows that Vought controls most of Congress. Their plan works until her daughter Zoe winds up showing up and using her new Compound V superpowers to kill all of them. She is vicious. She's not based on any of the characters from the comics, like she's a totally new creation of the show, but she basically has those face tentacles that work kind of like alien tentacles, like with little mouths on each of them. They're pretty strong too. They also have a cool effect of Kimiko's arm being bitten off and then growing back in slow motion because of her powers when Starlight's trying to save them. So they have a bit of a Deadpool baby legs, baby arm kind of joke. Also with the Wolverine joke, they also did this in the comics too, where Wolverine just jumps out of planes, smashes on the ground, and then heals himself back to normal. Kimiko basically does the same thing. Probably not a coincidence that we saw this just as they're getting ready to release the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Love the scene of Victoria Newman having a little reunion with Huey at the van too, and him trying to kill her and Butcher, and it just completely not affecting her at all. Like she just totally shakes it off like it's no big deal. It does sound though like she was friends with him or thought of him as a friend and almost brought him into her special plan. Just because it seems like she's growing a conscience slowly throughout these first couple of episodes, like she's starting to have second thoughts about what's going on, she might wind up being killed before the end of Season 4. I would not be surprised. Usually any of the bad characters that wind up turning good or trying to redeem themselves, if they do find a measure of redemption, wind up putting themselves pretty high on the death predictions list. For the most part during the episode, they make it seem like Dakota Bob and Victoria Newman are winning the election or going to win the election, and it'll be confirmed next January 6th. When they go back to the CIA, the Susan Rayner plaque is for that former agent that was killed by Victoria Newman, got her head popped in a previous season while she was working with the boys. When Dakota Bob is raking them over the coals over the botched operation, he makes a couple references, like he mentions Pete Buttigieg. That's another real-life political figure from the past election cycle. We find out Mother's Milk is currently running the boys, not Butcher, and they basically tell him to kick Butcher to the curb, which he kind of winds up doing eventually. They make the January 6th reference, which is both a nod to that January 6th, like the one that everybody's been talking about for the past couple of years, but also in every real-life presidential election, January 6th is always when they confirm the new incoming president officially. Currently, this year, we're in the middle of a new U.S. presidential election, so like next January 6th, that's going to happen again with whoever wins that election. Then we get our Jeffrey Dean Morgan introduction. He's playing Monkey from the comics, who Butcher used to work with. They make a bunch of references to their history, and it's from the history in the comics. Like, all the things that they reference are things that happened to them in the comics. The work they did that was classified, quote-unquote, when he was high on opium was when he got the nickname Monkey in the first place. It's a super messed up story. His real name, though, is Joe Kessler. He'll be around for the entire season, though. Slowly getting all the supernatural actors on the show. Like, there are a couple big supernatural cameos this season. There's actually a pretty good chance now we're actually going to get Jared Padalecki to cameo during season 5 in some way. Part of the reason for so many supernatural cameos is that the creator of the Boys series also helped create the Supernatural series. There are a couple other actors that he worked with on previous shows too, like Victoria Newman was also on one of his other TV shows. Joe Kessler and Butcher talk about the Homelander problem and how he wants to take a more dire tactic against him, like set Butcher on him in a way that the other boys aren't going after him. Because they're worried about a future where superheroes basically declare open warfare on normal humans, rounding them up, quote-unquote, putting them in camps. And that is kind of Homelander's ultimate plan. That's one of the reasons why he finds Sister Sage, to help him develop and execute that plan. They bring back the whole Todd plot from season 3. This is funny in a tragic kind of way, so R.I.P. Todd. We find out Mother's Milk's ex-wife kicked Todd out after he went completely off the deep end. They call it Team Homefront, which is basically all the Homelander supporters, like the most ardent supporters. But they make all these jokes about Todd being super good in bed just because he's so weird. Like, why else would he find a woman to actually love him if he wasn't amazing in bed? Maybe that was the showrunner's way for balancing the concept of Todd being such an idiot. Like, he's an idiot, but he's amazing in bed. Homelander starts hallucinating his history, essentially, like all the messed up stuff he's done on the show, the most messed up stuff he's done. Pretty much everything he does is pretty messed up. But he also starts seeing that red door. That's a brand new scene, like they work into a lot of these scenes from the previous series. So it is a teaser for us getting more Homelander backstory. And what it is a flashback to the Bad Room that he referenced during season 3. They don't really bring back this plot till the end of episode 3, so I'll talk about this later in the video, but they did reference it during season 3. All the real deep character work they're doing with everybody, like all the trauma that everyone's dealing with, extends to the Homelander character too, so they're trying to sympathize his character. Love all the Homelander transitions here too, with him zoning out. Like, this is going to be a new meme format, like him zoning out in the court, then the meetings, watching the TV, wearing the same basic vacant expression that he had at the movie theater. They make a whole bunch of deep jokes about the octopus that he both ate and then the one he separately had sex with, which they also bring back in the later episode because his wife wrote a tell-all book about all of his kinks, all the weird stuff he got up to. You thought they were done with the octopus jokes. They hammered down on that big time this season. The little bit he adds about her pooping on his bed is an Amber Heard joke in real life. Then they bring back Black Noir. There were so many questions about him when he showed up in the trailer. Like, wait a minute, is it another character playing Black Noir, or is it a clone of him? Like, what's going on here? How is he still alive? Because Homelander killed him during season 3. What the showrunner said is that it's the same actor underneath the Black Noir costume, but he's talking normally, and it sounds like it's an actor that they just hired to play Black Noir because he keeps asking about his quote-unquote motivation. Like, I need to get inside his head. So basically, it's the same actor that they used to portray Black Noir in previous seasons, but now they're letting him actually talk. Mostly, though, the first couple of episodes, they just use it for comedy because he will not shut up, and they keep referencing it like Black Noir's whole thing is that he doesn't talk. Stop talking. We find out that Homelander is getting super pissed off that he's surrounded with a bunch of yes men when he orders the Deep to basically blow A-Train, and he almost does it. Like, he definitely seems like he's about to do it before Homelander stops him, like, please don't do that. And it winds up being the inspiration he gets to go find Sister Sage because he knows that she'll always tell him the truth, no matter how bad it sounds. But when they bring up the sheet to look at different recruits that they could select from, there are so many Easter eggs here from the comics. Some of these characters are based on comic book characters, and some of them are just like totally new characters they created for the show. Talon seems like a Huntress in a Hawk Girl reference who was on the Justice League for a long time. Hyperion is an actual Marvel character who's an Eternal, but his powers make him seem kind of like an evil Superman, kind of like Homelander. This one looks more like a Wonder Woman parody. If you guys didn't read the comic book either, Queen Maeve is supposed to be a more literal parody of Wonder Woman. Notice that Tech Knight is on the list here. He showed up during the Gen V series. This Dognaught character seems like an Animal Man reference because he can talk to dogs. There are all these dog-based powers too, like he's afraid of fireworks, like just a whole bunch of jokes. We also find out that he has a super big kink for dogs, just like the Deep has a kink for aquatic animals. Sister Sage is meant to be more of a Reed Richards parody like Fantastic Four because she is the smartest person alive, so that's why she's in the blue colors here, which they wind up changing eventually, turning into her more of a trope, which she said herself she was really pissed off about. Like, I don't want to wear one of these stupid costumes. We find out that she used to be on the Teenage Kicks with A-Train back in the day before he joined the Seven. They're meant to be a parody of the Teen Titans, but all the superhero teams in the world of the boys are Vought-sponsored teams, so technically Vought controls all superhero teams. Wrangler here seems kind of like a Kraven the Hunter parody. We even have a Kraven movie coming out later this year too. It's Kraven time. There are a bunch of parody commercials throughout the episode, especially right here during this part. The Deep and A-Train trying to raise money for Homelander's defense, even though they don't need it. Like, Vought has all the money in the world, so why do they need to raise money? Roland Keating is the guy that he killed last season. Homelander's picture on the eagle with the machine guns, this just seems like a meme in the making right here. We get the Vought on Ice with versions of all the members of the Seven, including Queen Maeve. Notice that there's Vought coin now, like that's the crypto that Vought is hawking. We start to get the previews of the Firecracker character on her Truth Bomb TV show. It's like this super right-wing conspiracy TV show. She explains herself in later episodes of Sage and why she's doing all this too. Like, it's basically a grift, and she has a huge grudge against Starlight that we find out. Then we find out it's actually Butcher who's flipping all the channels when the picture turns to a picture of Carl Urban in real life from the past. Like, this is an actual picture of him that they just photoshopped with Becca here. They do stuff like this in movies and TV shows all the time. Like, if there's a picture of a younger version of a character in the movie, they'll just get a picture of that actor in real life from when they were a child. They bring back Huey's dad on the TV show, played by Simon Pegg. Really big Easter egg because the original Boys comic book version of Huey was based on him. So had they actually done this show like 20 years ago, he would have actually played the Huey character. Turns out he had a stroke for some reason, putting him in the hospital, and they use it as a reason to bring back Huey's mother. Then, because of Monkey's plan to go after Homelander, Butcher contacts Victoria Newman and tries to form a bargain with her to get access to the Compound V virus. The Vought video here is a Blockbuster video reference, RIP to Blockbuster. Notice the Soldier Boy movie poster. There's a bunch of Soldier Boy references during this season too. He's still in cryo prison. There's also references to that as well too. She confirms the weapon isn't strong enough to affect Homelander yet. Like, there's always questions about that, like, is she strong enough to pop his head? Will the virus work against him? Turns out no on both counts. That's why I think Ryan is going to be the only thing that'll be able to stop him. She tries to bargain for all the evidence linking her to Red River that they used in previous seasons. There's a whole bunch of references during this Firecracker broadcast, like she's a DeSantis supporter. He's a United States politician in real life that just got into a huge fight with Disney in Florida. She makes an Epstein reference. We find out it's somebody on Starlight's staff that's actually watching her broadcast. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing because this person seems like one of her lawyers. It takes her a little while to actually figure out what her deal is. Like, why are you coming after me so much? And it turns out it's all because they were on the pageant circuit as little girls before. They had flashbacks to Starlight in previous seasons when they show her in a little girl in those pageants. Starlight basically wronged her in a really bad way, started all these crazy rumors, and forced her to quit the pageant circuit. So ever since then, Firecracker developed this vendetta against her and is basically going after her in present day because of that. And they start this whole subplot with Frenchie and this person named Cullen that he used to be in a relationship with. It seems like he starts back up with again, who he actually knew from back in the day when he still worked with the mob. It seems like the trauma that he's working through this season is all the terrible stuff he did when he was working for the mob, like all the people that he killed, including Cullen's family. So essentially, whatever he was doing with them, it just got them killed, and he hasn't told Cullen the truth yet. They didn't really get into this too much in previous seasons, but they kind of made it seem like Frenchie and Kimiko were actually a couple, but in this season, they make it seem like that's not the case. We meet the Sister Sage character. She's on the toilet reading a philosophy book while also listening to another book on tape at super speed. She's got books all over her room just because she's meant to be so smart she can consume stuff so quickly. And we see what looks like Homelander in his first civilian disguise we've ever seen him in. Like, we've never actually seen him outside of his full regular costume, which Sage also references, like, I don't think I've ever seen you outside of that costume. She proves her powers to him by basically guessing the reason for all of his midlife crisis problems. He's super strong, but he still ages, even though it's at a slower rate, so he's got all the normal problems that people getting older in middle age have. Like, well, you're having prostate problems, you're turning gray, and you're starting to get a lot of wrinkles. And essentially, she winds up giving Homelander the idea to take over the world, become God Emperor Homelander, because nobody will listen to her. So it's kind of driven her bitter over the years, which is why she doesn't really want to associate with Vought or be on the Seven. If you are the smartest person in the world, it doesn't really matter if nobody actually listens to you or follows your plans. But essentially, the first part of the plan she gives him is to take both sides of the political aisle, because remember, we're talking about election year. You have the Starlight supporters, you have the Homelander supporters, basically get them to fight each other and create this civil war in the United States that will burn itself to the ground. Homelander can be the person to swoop in after that, stop the fighting, and be the savior that everybody loves. Eventually then taking over the United States, and then after that the world, becoming God Emperor Homelander. The funny thing though is that she also points out that if he were to achieve his goal, like if you did rule the world, you would also be unhappy with that too, like you would grow unsatisfied. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. They wind up getting into this in the later episodes too, when his scenes with Ryan, where he starts talking about them becoming like one, like you need to be just like me until we almost become one person. Like he's obsessed with getting older. It's also meant to flow with the idea of bad dads, like everybody on the show seems like they have terrible fathers. So in the case of Ryan, Homelander is essentially trying to make Ryan become exactly like him, like force him to be just like him. Pretty easy to see that will not go well. Mother's Milk then goes looking for Todd with Kimiko and Frenchie and finds out that he goes to this special group because of Sister Sage's plan. He goes to a Planet Vought, which is a parody of Planet Hollywood, where we find out that her plan is basically to have the members of the Seven kill them, like Todd and these other people who are supporters of their group, and make it look like a bunch of Starlight supporters killed them, trying to slowly create this civil war situation. Homelander then goes on his trial. There's an Easter egg for Ezekiel, that priest from earlier seasons. We'll see him later in the season too. We get a commercial for Vought's new treatment for incontinence. Remember, above all else, Vought is really just a glorified pharma company. They just has a bunch of other businesses, like the Compound B is what they started with, is a pharmaceutical product, but it created superheroes, so they needed to find a way to capitalize that at the time, and that was where they got all their superhero business from. Like they created their own version of a Disney arm of the company to try and monetize superheroes. Notice after the fact too, Homelander drinking the milk, always milk with him, like there's so many milk references when he has scenes with Ryan, trying to get Ryan to drink more milk too, like you gonna finish that? And we find out that Ryan is actually worried about Butcher dying, so it kind of means that Homelander can't just outright kill Butcher on the spot or risk pissing Ryan off. Then we find out that the Deep's octopus lover is Ambrosius, is also voiced by Tilda Swinton. Some of you probably recognized her the minute you heard the voice.
We wouldn't have to hide our love anymore.
Remove one of the stones, and that close splits.
She also plays the Ancient One during the Marvel movies. And it sounds like she is like the only creature in existence that actually cares about the Deep. Like everybody treats him like crap except for Ambrosius, who just wants him to run away with her to the ocean. Then we finally meet Huey's mother, played by Rosemary DeWitt, who we find out is actually working for Vought's makeup company, kind of like their version of Mary Kay. And they get into the whole drama behind Huey's backstory too, like this is part of his trauma, like his mother left them when he was a kid, but he doesn't find out why until later, and it's all because she had postpartum depression, she had him when she was way too young, and she tried to kill herself, so essentially she wound up leaving to get help for herself, but then his father told her not to contact Huey. So it takes them a little while, but eventually Huey does come around on her, but for like the first couple of episodes, he is super pissed off. We get that cool scene of Butcher hallucinating Becca, where she starts talking about the fate of Ryan. Like, if he becomes like Homelander, turns evil, essentially, that's the end of the world. I think that's more of them setting up the whole Ryan versus Homelander fight in Season 5. Love the little prank he winds up playing on Victoria Newman, too, like sending her the butthole instead of the files. Episode 2 was titled Life Amongst the Septics. It's named after issue 5 of the comics, based on a conversation that Butcher and Huey had during that issue. They actually started in the scene of A-Train filming a fake movie starring Will Ferrell, but it's meant to be Will Ferrell in the universe of The Boys, like Will Ferrell is now canon to The Boys universe.
You're throwing it all away, slinging yayo for gangbangers?
The movie's meant to be a parody of The Blind Side, but it's called Training A-Train. They bring back PJ Burns' Adam Rourke director character, who's out of Vought director jail. They forced him to teach classes during the Gen V episodes. He mentions Robert De Niro, like there are a bunch of different things that they canonized in the series during these first couple of episodes. And even though Mother's Milk winds up kicking Butcher off the team despite his condition, like his degenerating condition, I think it's only meant to be temporary. Like eventually they will help each other again, because he does save their lives later. We get those two pitchmen from earlier seasons back, creating a new superhero identity for Ryan, trying to name him Homeboy with the costume just like Homelander's, basically a Superboy parody, like by making Superboy versus Superman references as endgame for the show. But also it sort of flows with the idea that Homelander wants Ryan to become just like him. Sage makes a bunch of super deep-cut jokes on Nancy Reagan back in the day because Ronald Reagan used to be an actor before he became the president or a politician. She reveals Vought did away with sidekicks a long time ago because of what Soldier Boy did with Gunpowder. After the fact, Gunpowder filed a lawsuit, and Vought has been paying out a settlement to him ever since then. Sage's whole prophecy that she kind of wills into existence here, like she creates or writes about Ryan being the chosen one to save the world, will probably be how they end the show by paying that off. He'll save the world from Homelander. She makes a bunch of references to the special boy trope in movies like Luke Skywalker, meaning Star Wars is now canon to the boys, Harry Potter now canon, Neo, The Matrix now canon. They give Ryan his first superhero save. They have a bunch of funny scenes about him training how to save someone too, and the whole fake way they create these saves, like the whole persona of them saving people. There are a couple funny scenes with Sage, Ashley, and the Deep. We find out that Sage knew about Homelander's fetish and his weird relationship with Stillwell and the nursing thing, suggesting that that's how Ashley can save herself from getting killed, by making herself useful and letting Homelander nurse on her. We find out the Deep is still on PETA's special list, quote-unquote, of full-on degenerates. And they start some of the early of what become many funny moments with Sage in the Deep, like the smartest person with the dumbest person. We get that crazy convention that the boys go to called TruthCon, basically a bunch of nut jobs believing a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. It seems like it's a big parody of QAnon. There's a monument to Todd, R.I.P. This one about Soldier Boy being held captive by the CIA is actually true, as is this one about Soldier Boy and Liberty being in a relationship. That was actually a persona used by Stormfront before she became Stormfront a long time ago when they got it on at the previous versions of Herogasm. I think they were meant to be founding members of the Herogasm too. This whole thing about Stormfront being alive seems like it's fake though. I think she is meant to be dead on the show, like she bit through her tongue so she bled out because she would rather die than have to stay living with Homelander in that way. Kimiko starts having PTSD flashbacks and gets super drunk on that A-Train alcoholic drink. And we get our next big Supernatural cameo scene. So this is Rob Benedict, aka Chuck from Supernatural, God from Supernatural. They drop Oprah, Tom Hanks, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle references. Like, she says all kinds of crazy stuff. There's a Storm Chasers panel. That was Stormfront's group that she used to manipulate people through the internet with all the fake news. And we find out that Chuck is basically a multiple man parody who's getting it on with himself, human centipede style, while fapping to Firecracker. Like, it's the most degenerate thing you could possibly think of. Like, this isn't what it looks like. We find out why Sage took that selfie with Homelander to prove to Firecracker that she was on the Seven, and Firecracker basically explains that she's a Jubilee parody from the X-Men comics, so you can only create small Firecracker effects by snapping her fingers. She explains her whole grift to Sage, like, oh, I'm trying to give people something to fight for. Like, do they want to be part of this secret war against all this crazy stuff, or do they just want to be regular people? But also, there's the whole bit about her really wanting to go after Starlight, like holding this vendetta against her since they were children together. They start to have more of an A-Train redemption arc with him giving the information, the footage, to Starlight so that the people get exonerated for all the murders that happened at their rally. And Ryan pulls off his first save, which doesn't go so hot, winds up accidentally killing the person and gets captured on social media. But all the people here are actors, basically. The people that are capturing the footage work for Vought, as does the girl who's trying to act out the scene too. Love the way that Homelander also sort of horns into like, hey there, champ, how's it going? I'm here to help. This is the beginning of the rift between Sage and Homelander because he stops listening to her plan. Like, do what she says. Everything she says is coming to pass. But he's so obsessed, so crazy in the head that he just can't stand not being a part of the center of the action. We find out then that Sage planned a trap for the boys, knowing that they were on her the whole time. She knows all about them, but this is the first time she's actually met them in person. They have the most messed up WTF fight with Chuck, whose very naked copies chase them into a bat mitzvah that a girl is having, themed after the marvelous Miss Maisel, which is funny too, because the main actress from that, Rachel Brosnahan, is the new Lois Lane in the James Gunn, David Cornswitz Superman movie that we're going to see next year. Homelander is meant to be a very direct parody of Superman. Butcher winds up helping save them. They perma-kill Chuck when they kill the Prime, R.I.P., causing all the duplicates to die instantly. Love the way he goes out simping for Firecracker, like she obviously did not care about him at all. Homelander then has the absolute worst dad session trying to calm Ryan down and explain the death of the person during the save. Completely misses the fact that Ryan is upset about accidentally killing someone. Like, what? Oh, you killed a person? Yeah, who cares about that? The funny thing about that mishap is that the same thing happened to Homelander when he was young and doing his first save too. Like the first time he went into battle, quote unquote, basically ended with him killing a whole bunch of people during the Boys Diabolical series, and that's meant to be canon to the live-action series. You can kind of see Ryan clocking Homelander's craziness during this too, like, what? How come you don't get this? Like, I'm upset that I killed an actual human being. This also continues in later episodes too, where he starts to see Homelander's craziness come out more and more and more, like Homelander slowly begins to lose it. Love the way he also yoinks that second milkshake too, like I'm gonna drink this too. So many milk products. Episode 3 is titled, We'll Keep the Red Flag Flying Here, and it's named after the lyrics of Jim Connell's socialist song, The Red Flag. It's meant to be the main song of the British Labour Party in a couple of the Irish parties too. The song emphasizes the sacrifices and solidarity of the international labor movement. At the Vought rally, they introduced the new members of the Seven, Sage and Firecracker. Homelander also seems like he's about to laser the hell out of some of the Starlight supporters too. And he basically says he's saving that 7th empty spot on the Seven for Ryan. When Sage later starts talking about how popularity is a prison, like she doesn't want to be in front of the cameras or anything like that, she is correct. Like it actually limits her abilities. There are a couple more movie references when Frenchie takes down on one of Firecracker's whack jobs. They talk about Jason Bourne. He also makes a Jean Reno reference to The Professional because he's also French. Like Frenchie is French and Jean Reno is French. We get that scene of Robert Singer also plotting to try and work around all of Vought's allegiances inside Congress. They basically say that more than 90% of the House of Representatives is on Vought's payroll and about 20% of the Senate. So not the entirety of Congress, but most of Congress is in Vought's pocket. Victoria Newman also looks like she clocks that Dakota Bob knows that she's a superhero when he starts talking about all these anti-superhero acts that he wants to introduce. Basically removing superheroes from any positions of power or authority, basically turning them into just pure actors in movies and theme parks, and that's it. Mother's Milk makes an Elon Musk joke and develops a plan to turn A-Train to the boys, which seems like it does bear fruit by the end of episode 3, like A-Train does wind up saving Huey. This whole Vought video game that Ryan plays seems like a Mortal Kombat parody because in real life, you can actually play as Homelander in the new Mortal Kombat game. You can also play as Omni-Man. I think they also have Peacemaker as well too. They even do some full-on character intros Mortal Kombat style too and some fatalities. We also saw the Lamplighter and the Crimson Countess characters in previous seasons as well. But it's all part of Butcher's early plan to get Ryan, like he's talking to him over the headset. When the Seven reconvene inside the meeting room, there are a couple of funny moments too, like love Homelander's reaction to Firecracker, who is totally DTF, like I will do anything, and he just doesn't know what to respond with, like, oh, okay, sure, great. You have to remember that Homelander's real two weaknesses that they've explained previously on the show, mostly psychological problems, but it's milk and women. Those are his kryptonite. He winds up making Sage the official CEO of Vought, and Ashley is more of like a public figurehead, a face for the company to go on camera. We find out this new version of Black Noir is a narcoleptic. There's that funny follow-up scene with Ashley venting her problems to Cameron Cole too, who's like full BDSM gear, like he's just fully ready to go while she's venting. She also makes a literal Disney reference. I keep using them as an example for what Vought would be if Disney did produce pharmaceuticals, like essentially an evil version of Disney that made pharmaceutical products, but also had all their other regular businesses too, with superheroes. There are a couple great scenes with Butcher and Ryan where basically he explains what's going on with him, how he is afraid of dying before he saves Ryan, like he wants to do the best by him according to what Becca wanted for him. And it genuinely seems like Ryan understands more of what's going on now. Like, he understands that Butcher doesn't hate him, and he was only pushing him away because Butcher thinks that he'd be a terrible father. Early theory, the tragedy of their relationship will be that eventually Butcher does save Ryan, like he gets him away from Homelander, but ultimately Butcher does die during season 5. Later when Homelander lasers that girl before Sage can get all the info she needs on her, I think it's also just part of the continual decline of their relationship. Like, Sage is getting more pissed off at him for not listening to her. That was part of her whole deal for joining the Seven, is that she would come up with the plans and Homelander would actually listen to them and enact them. This is also why Ashley shreds her resignation letter, fearing that she'll be the next one to get killed if she tries to leave. We get another Vought on Ice, Jitter being called back. It seems like they're rehearsing, with Huey and Mother's Milk trying to spy on the meeting between Victoria Newman, Homelander, and Sage. And we basically find out that their next part of the plan is to kill Dakota Bob so that Victoria Newman will automatically become the next president and can start rolling back all the anti-superhero legislation and actually giving more power to superheroes. Basically giving them carte blanche authority over the law in the United States. And eventually they would probably just take that to the world too. You also notice that Sage is surprised when Homelander seems like he takes a radical left turn and tells Victoria Newman that she has to come out as a superhero once she becomes the president, when that wasn't part of Sage's plan. Like, no, we don't want that. Winds up killing a whole bunch of the performers in hilarious WTF ways when he finds out that Huey is listening to the conversation and tries to laser the hell out of him. And once A-Train saves Huey, I love the growl that Homelander gives off when he takes off after not being able to find him. We get that funny scene with Sage in the Deep. She seems like she's totally off her rocker. We actually find out why in a second too, but makes the suggestion that they watch Transformers 2 together, eat the blooming onion, the one with the racist robots, quote unquote. That's actually based on a real life meme when that movie originally came out. But it seems like part of the reason for all this, like the reason why Sage is acting like this, is because she actually stabbed herself in the brain, and that's what this bloody device is. Like, she basically wanted to turn her intelligence off for a little while, so her brain is just recovering right now, and for that period, she's just as dumb as anybody else. So it's sort of like her giving herself a giant aspirin pill. Then we get that ending scene of Homelander totally flipping out on Ryan when he comes back after learning that he saw Butcher. He winds up running off, but then Homelander's mind starts to fracture, and the way they visually represent it is actually pretty cool too, with the mirror fracturing as well. And they bring back all those alternate personas. We really only saw one last season, but now there's a bunch of them. It seems like the angry, evil one from last season is the dominant personality and starts telling him he needs to bleed out all this human emotion. You need to get rid of this. Get rid of any humanity you have left by going back to the beginning. What he means is when he starts having those flashbacks to the Red Door is the bad room that they referenced during season 3 when that other persona said, hey, don't you remember when we went to the bad room? I got us through that. I'll get us through this now too. They make it seem like those flashbacks is the bad room is the place where Vogelbaum and Vought, when they first created Homelander, would test his superpowers by basically just trying to cut into him over and over again, like basically destroy parts of his body to see how strong he was, find out what his powers were. Treating him like a really messed up guinea pig, explaining how it fractured his mind, like why he's so messed up in present day because of what they did to him in that room. It seems like it's all part of their plan to make you more sympathetic with his character and explain more of why he's going so crazy right now and into season 5. So ultimately, he becomes much more of a tragic figure in the grand scheme of the show. But if there's any other big Easter eggs or references that you guys spotted during the episodes, let me know in the comments below. My episode 4 video will post next week. It'll be one episode per week after this through the finale. And big reminder too, we have House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 1 coming on Sunday. My video for that will also post Sunday. Everybody click here for my non-spoilery House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 1 video, and click here for that brand new Deadpool and Wolverine Juggernaut trailer with a whole bunch of Thanos Easter eggs and other references. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.